my end for some reason.
All right. Well, I think we should be live here any second now.
Shows that we're live on my end.
All right. I think there's like a 10-second delay. Let's see. I don't think it's officially gone live yet.
Yeah, I don't see anybody in the private chat.
All right. I think we're actually good now. So
okay.
All right. What's up, guys? Welcome back to DCA. So today I'm joined by, I don't know, is it Snake or Snek? I actually should have asked you that before.
It's all good. The Gaussian Snek.
All right. So the Gaussian
you can call me a snake.
So what we're going to do today is talk about, I think we wanted to talk about a lot of things, but I have a feeling that one particular topic is going to dominate, and that's what the hell happened today. So if you guys haven't checked out his channel, I highly suggest you do. He's I obviously like channels where we talk about data, where we talk about analysis of the market without the hopium and all that. And that's definitely what his channel is. So I'll let him introduce himself and then we'll get into it.
Yeah, so I'm the Gaussian Snake or Snek, depending on how you want to pronounce that. And so I have a data-driven and market psychology approach on my YouTube channel. I also have a Telegram channel that I'd encourage people to look into. And I've been huge fans of Mark and Jay at Polarity Digital for about a year now, since I discovered their channel when I was just browsing through YouTube. And you guys are just killing it. Like, I love the way you guys have, your approach just spoke to me, and I've been subscribed to your premium list ever since. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it, unless you have any questions.
No, I just, I think a lot has happened in the last couple of days, not just in the crypto market. Even I think there's a lot going on. At least there's a lot that is kind of up in the air with regards to the economy.
Yes.
With kind of stuff that's going on with the Fed, and obviously some geopolitical events, which we may or may not touch on, that I think are kind of driving the market in the direction that we're seeing right now. So we haven't really prepared anything set to discuss. Even if we did, I think that would kind of been derailed over the last 12 hours or so. So with that said, I know you have a lot prepared, Snek. So why don't you pull up what you want to talk about, and we'll go from there.
For sure. Yeah, I'll start out by saying that heading into the weekend, I felt like we were having a little bit of a shakeout, and I wasn't that concerned when we went down to, I think it was like 66 or 67K. And then, I thought, well, weekends are usually pretty stable. You don't see a lot of price movement. So woke up today, prices looked more or less the same. And then I went to go get my haircut and came out to 62, 63K or whatever it went down to. And I was like, whoa, what's going on here on a Saturday?
Right.
So yeah, that was quite an adventure. But so I guess, the question is this just a normal crypto market correction, or is the bull market over? That's, I think, what's the topic that's on most people's minds right now. How do we prepare for what's next? So let me pull up my screen. I'm sensing an echo also as I'm speaking. I don't know if that's happening on your end too.
I don't hear that. I don't know. Do you guys hear an echo? I don't know if anyone. There's always probably a delay here, so getting a response from the people out there can not be immediate.
That's fine. So can you see my screen?
Sorry,
Oh, no worries.
There we go.
Okay, so this is I just wanted to start out with market sentiment. And obviously, this is also kind of a lagging indicator. So I would anticipate this would drop a little bit further. But we have been at some pretty high levels of fear and greed. I mean, touching all the way up near 90, which we don't do quite often, right? And then we kind of chopped around in the 80s and just kind of trending down, but we're still above 70. Now, this could potentially come down into the 60s, but it's just been a trend of higher lows and higher highs really since about September of last year. So I don't know. I mean, I think like you're not seeing what's happening right now really reflected in market sentiment just yet, but I'll be kind of curious to see where this lands next week.
Yeah, I mean, I think that chart is interesting because basically since kind of at the bottom of 2022, like you said, it's been making, it's basically just been in a a linear uptrend essentially. I mean, you could draw a channel right from the top and bottom of that chart there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, just straight up diagonal channel.
Yeah, I do think what you're probably going to see is that's going to be coming down over the next couple days. And honestly, this fear and greed index, I guess, it does kind of give you a good sense of what's going on, but I think it's also a generally good indicator for kind of a contrarian indicator, I guess, because pretty much whenever you see it get to one end or the other, the market is going to flip the other way. And so I think it makes a lot of sense why you're seeing a correction now. So, this is how these corrections work. When people start, kind of diving into the market, you tend to find that that's when, people overinvest. They overinvest in kind of lower liquidity assets that are able to move quickly the second that, that VC or, whoever, the big whales that own that particular asset, they're going to front run you. They're going to dump the second that, a big kind of a market event comes out like we saw today. And that's what you're seeing. They front ran the event, they're going to get out near the top. And then you have a bunch of retail investors kind of holding the bags at the end of the day. So,
yeah.
It's sorry, go ahead, Snek.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was just going to say it'll be interesting to see if this pattern of higher lows and higher highs continues for one more leg up. My base case is that it probably doesn't, or if we get some sideways movement in here, or if this trend just completely reverses.
Right. I mean, okay, well, let me ask you this. Do you suspect that we're kind of at the end of the market? I mean, give me your prognosis of the market from here forward, I guess. Let's go there.
That's the $1 million question. No, I
Right.
don't believe we're at the end of the market. I don't. And I have reasons for that, data-driven reasons why I believe that we're not at the end of the market cycle. I do think there is a chance that we front ran the halving, though. We had 7 green months in a row, something that's only happened, I think, twice in Bitcoin's entire history. And it's even doubtful if it's happened twice. It happened in 2012, and then it happened, I believe, in 2010. So this is a pretty rare event to get 7 green months in a row. And a lot of people thought we were going to get an 8th green month. And granted, the month of April hasn't closed yet. We don't know what the next, couple of weeks hold. But a lot of my indicators were showing that we're quite overextended, like as early as like even January, February, and especially in March. So I can get into some of that, with you later. But no, I don't believe that the market cycle is over. And I can get into reasons for that in a little bit. How about you?
Yeah. So, one thing that I've realized over the last couple of years of making these videos is you kind of have to be very selective in what you say, because, you can say something with one particular intent, and the way that people will interpret that, whatever you're saying, could be too literal, or they'll just take it and run with it, like that one particular They'll parse what you say for that one thing that they're looking for, and then they'll just run with that piece of information. So I say this with a bit of trepidation, but I kind of feel like that the market hasn't even, really got started yet.
Mm-hmm.
In a way like we, at least with reference to like what we saw back in 2021. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if you look at pretty much all the data, and if you look at like user metrics, there is no one new coming into the market.
Mm-hmm.
You basically have a partial return to the number of users that we saw back in like 2020, 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you look at it from that perspective, you can think of it in either one of two ways. Then either A, 2021 was an aberration, and it's not likely that we'll see any kind of return to that, at least on any type of like a shorter time horizon. And when I say shorter, I mean like 1, 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah.
Or B, that just a lot of people, I mean, when you look at the economic situation right now, people just started repaying their student loans, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
Interest rates are north of 5%. So,
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to buy a home right now or something, or trying to get a loan or paying back your credit card bills, which are, through the roof, you're not in the best situation right now. And
Right.
ultimately, who is the one kind of driving? And Bitcoin's a whole different animal, right?
Yes.
Because retail in general, I think they're past the days of, you do have your maxis out there,
Yes.
but new entrants into the market might buy Bitcoin right when they first come into the market. But the second that they go on CoinGecko or they go on Coinbase and they get that percentage change for the day list,
Mm-hmm.
and Bitcoin maybe is chugging along, but oh wait, what is this Pepe? What is this whiff? It's up 75%, or it's up
Top performers,
488.
man.
Yeah. Yeah, right. So, those are the people that are kind of getting into that market, and they're not coming into the market right now. The ones who have been around and are the guys that are watching us, whatever, June 2022, when the
Yeah.
market's just completely dead. Those guys, they're going to be around, right? And they're
Yes.
still here. But
Absolutely.
the new people, the casual crypto investors, are not here. And I don't even think that they know that there's been a crypto bull market over the last, year and a quarter or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. That's exactly my sentiment, is that there's some retail that's here buying the meme coins, but by and large, there isn't a whole lot of new money that's entered the market. If I want to switch, let me switch tabs. I guess I have to switch screen here. Hold on. I wanted to show some more data. I have so
Sure.
many. I have so many of these. Maybe it's just better if I just let's see. Switch over here. All right. So I have US M2 money supply, and at the bottom I have the inflation rate. So this is on a monthly time scale, and you can see this little aberration that we had in the data. If you go back in history, you don't really see much in the way of aberrations quite like this. That injection of like $6 trillion by the Fed, with a peak way above this trend line. And then you had the Fed start their rate cut programs a little bit late, and we're now finally pretty much back at trend. Inflation has been going sideways, more or less. I know people freaked out about us hitting 3.5%, but honestly, we've been in that range for quite some time. And this is creating, I think, a little bit of uncertainty in the market. And I think the data that's come out of the Federal Reserve reports over the past few weeks, some of it's been good, like manufacturing jobs, supply chain issues seem to have kind of subsided somewhat. But then there's some concerns by economists that we might be heading into a period of stagflation, which, if you look at the unemployment levels, which I didn't pull up here, we're at about 3.8%. So it's hard to argue that we're in any kind of recessionary territory.
Right.
I pulled up, on one of my tabs, I have the smooth recession probability. I don't know what happened to it, but it's like 1.5%. So it's pretty low. SOM rule hasn't even been triggered. So I don't think we're in a recession, nor do I think we're in immediate danger of being in a recession. But what is kind of interesting is that job openings across most sectors have just been down. So then it's like, well, how do you really measure unemployment when you're losing jobs like this? And that's where the kind of the stagflation issue comes up. And a lot of people watching this channel may not know what stagflation even is. You have to actually go back to the late 70s to see examples of that. It's a tricky situation to even identify economically. So there are some signs that could be a possibility for what either is already happening or what might be happening.
Right. Well, with regards to those job openings, with as far as I know, those that's just tracking like the number of new openings, isn't it?
Yeah, new job openings. But
right.
I've
I
heard
mean,
that.
that number falling could technically represent a healthy market also if, well, I mean, I guess I see what you're saying. So it's basically suggesting that there's no new hiring for whatever reasons. And the implication would be that, the economy is struggling. People are anticipating potentially economic woes ahead. So, they're not hiring or opening new jobs.
Yeah, because here in California, for instance, they raised the minimum wage to $20 an hour. And I mean, I'm all for paying workers higher wages and everything, but we have an inflation problem. And that's just causing employers to either lay people off or just take existing openings and freeze them. Like, in my non-crypto life, we have a hiring freeze at the company that I work for. We're not going to be filling positions.
Right.
So, and I've heard other companies are doing the same. So yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, you're not seeing, in some cases you're seeing no new openings, and in other cases you're seeing contraction. But that makes the unemployment numbers, the way that unemployment data is tracked, a little bit tricky, So it's like, is 3.8% really accurate? Is it higher? I don't know.
Right.
But I do wonder that.
Sorry, what'd you say there, Snek?
Oh, I'm sorry. I said with when you take into account hiring freezes and like reduced job openings, and I could pull up the chart later if people want me to, of different kinds of job openings across sectors, it makes me wonder, what is the true unemployment rate? Is it really 3.8%?
Oh, no way.
Yeah, or is it a little bit higher? And if it is a little bit higher,
right,
that does raise some concerns about, when is this recession going to happen? If it's going to happen. Of course, everything's presumptive until it happens. But that's been the wild card for me in this market cycle. I don't believe that we are in a recession right now. Let me be clear about that. But I wouldn't rule out the possibility that we could be in one sometime as early as potentially, Q4 of this year or Q1 of next year. Who knows? But it just depends on how things keep going, and the Feds seem to think they can get inflation down to 2 to 2.5% by next year. Most of the reports have said that it's going to be a bumpy ride. Yeah, no kidding.
right.
But yeah, do you believe what the Fed says? I don't.
I mean, at the end of the day, so I kind of have an opinion about the economic situation, like trying to determine when a recession is going to happen, when the Fed is going to do this or that. If you just look at like the market predictions, and these are ultimately predictions being made by people on Wall Street, they have almost never been right ahead of what the Fed is going to do. And I don't mean that.
No, I know.
I don't mean that, tongue in cheek. I mean, literally, the rate at which the guys who are supposedly in the know, the guys who are, going to work in suits every day in New York City, they have an abysmal prediction rate of what the Fed's going to do. Moreover, you hear people trying to call when a recession is going to happen. You cannot do that. I just don't think you can actually do it. There are too many data points. There are too many, there's too much going on in the system to kind of model specifically when a recession is going to happen. I mean, if there's something, if the economy is clearly like in a major downtrend and there's a very clear and present risk on the horizon that, it's just obvious that things aren't going to get better, fine. Maybe in that case, you can say like next quarter will be in a recession. But, that's like one of these things, like you see a lot of the big channels on Twitter constantly talking about, we're heading into a recession, the market's going to tank, this and that. Well, congratulations, buddy. You just made you and your 900,000 followers miss, the run from 15K up to 70K for Bitcoin over the last year and a half. I just think that there's way too much going on a macro scale to kind of call peaks or troughs in terms of the economy. One of the things I always go back to in 2022, kind of right at the start of the 2022 market, I was saying that, hey, I think, this is very likely a real bear market we're entering. And because of these macroeconomic reasons. But that was primarily because of the fact that, this is something I talk about on Polarity Digital a lot, is there's a difference between a defined macroeconomic event that's happening and trying to identify like where the economy is at the moment. And when the Fed is telling you they're going to be raising interest rates, they're not joking, right? No. Like the Fed knows more than Invest Answers knows. Like if they say we're raising interest rates and Invest Answers is telling you we're not raising interest rates, well, I'm going to believe the Fed instead of some guy in his basement, right?
Yeah.
So,
of course.
And but people, they think that everything is a conspiracy. They think that, everything is, there's some like secret going on that, this hand behind the door is kind of holding us down. And it's not always like that. Sometimes it is just what it is. And so when you have the Fed telling you we're raising interest rates, there it is. There's a defined event. I don't need to predict anything. There's nothing to predict. All I have to do is tell you they're raising interest rates. Yep. Guess what happens to risk assets when the Fed raises interest rates? They go down, right? Very easy.
Yep.
But me telling you like, oh, we're going into a recession, I don't know that. I can't. That's, we very well may be on the path right now towards a recession, possibly. I don't know. We can break down this, that, and the next thing until we're blue in the face. But the timing of those kind of events isn't as, it's not a defined thing. We can't say next quarter or in 6 months. So I think trying to front run events like that, it's kind of like missing the trees from the forest type of event. Like, you're missing the 400-500% rally in 2023 into the beginning of 24 because you're so worried about some event that you can't quantify when it will happen. So I guess that's kind of my take on that matter. And I think so many people get caught up in that shit and end up missing the bulk of the market because of it.
I don't know if you have to share every time there we go. So this is the smooth U.S. recession probabilities. And don't worry, guys, we're going to talk about other stuff besides macro. But I do feel this is relevant. It's the only reason I'm bringing it up. And you can see that by the time this starts to go up in a material way, you're kind of already in a recession. Right. So the fact that it is trending up doesn't necessarily mean anything. I mean, you can look here. In 2022, it looked like we were heading that way. We were at about, I can't really see exactly what this was, but about 1.28, where I think around, was it like 1.62? So it has been trending up, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Like my belief is that a recession will happen when people least expect it to. If everybody's looking at one happening, probably not going to happen. So one other thing,
but then the one guy, the guy who's been shouting recessions coming for the last 6 years. When it happens, then he's going to be like, look, what a genius I am. You guys didn't see this?
Yeah. What do they say? A broken clock is right at least 2 times a day. So
yeah,
I agree with you completely that we shouldn't try to time it. We just look at what the data is telling us at that given moment in time. I have one of these wireless mouses, and of course it's deciding to go crap out on me right now. I want to pull up a couple. Let's see here. Okay, I'm going to try to share. I wanted to pull up Dixie. And
oh yeah, that's the basically. I think I have that one up actually. I could pull it up real quick.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Am I still sharing my recession? One's gone. I don't know why, but for some reason, it's not letting me click on it now. So why don't you go share yours? And I'm gonna.
All right. Yeah, I got it here.
See. Yeah, I have something to plug this mouse in, but it's downstairs.
Don't worry, you're off the camera now, so you can run off screen if you need to.
Yeah, I am gonna do that briefly. But
okay,
but go ahead.
Yeah, I can talk about this. So, I think this chart right here is basically giving you a pretty good idea of why, or, I think a lot of people potentially misunderstand this. This isn't necessarily, I think what we see here is kind of encapsulating what's going on in the market. So when there's, when there's a lot of fear in the market, you see the DXY start to move up. And why is that? Because, who wants to be holding speculative foreign assets when when there's like global instability? I can almost guarantee that into next week, given the things that are going on with Israel and Iran, I think you're going to see the DXY continue to move upwards. And this is just kind of how it plays out whenever, whenever the macro uncertainty buzzword kind of creeps back into the picture. And I think that's where we're at right now. And so if you look at where are the times when the market has really made big moves? And actually what we can do is, let's just throw Bitcoin on top of this, right? So we'll move this over to its own. Right. And so Bitcoin kind of, it did experience a rally right here while the DXY was still increasing, but it made its big move from around 50 up to its new all-time high kind of right here while the DXY was on the way down. And this is the time right here from that second into third, the second into the first week of March. This is when altcoins really went wild, when the DXY came from a high of around 105 all the way down to 102. So I think what you're seeing this week is the DXY kind of making this huge move to the upside, right? So, when the DXY is kind of making big moves, we typically see Bitcoin not do that well. And we see risk assets in general not do that well. This is, this was kind of an aberration here where we saw DXY and the stock market, for that matter, doing all right in spite of the DXY. We saw crypto and the stock market doing all right in spite of the DXY kind of making this move from around 101 up to 105. But, that can only last for so long. And so if this continues to kind of move to the upside, I think we'll be kind of looking at a period in time where we're going to see a correction. And I think crypto has now gotten so big that it's, a lot of people talk a lot about, I remember back in 2021, there was a lot of talk about, the market, it's decoupling from the stock market. And I think people have really kind of lost sight about lost sight of how these capital markets work. The money is coming from the bigger capital pools down to the smaller ones. And at the end of the day, the crypto market is still a small capital pool, right? So when the stock market's rallying, we're seeing that that's when the crypto market is going to tend to do well. And the bigger it gets, the more intertwined it's going to get. We have a Bitcoin ETF right now, which, that's a whole nother topic that I probably would like to get into if we could,
Sure.
if we have time. I don't think that's the amazing thing that everyone thinks it is. You know, because I talk about this a lot. Previously, we were playing the game against a bunch of amateurs. Now you're playing the game against the pros, right? And so before, you know, when you're putting up layups against your 10-year-old neighbor, that's one thing. But now you're getting dunked on by the big boys, and I think that's something that, you know, people were so, you know, hopeful that, oh, you know, they're all coming in, and, you know, they're all going to be FOMOing in at 70K. Well, I think what you're seeing now is, you know, your biggest proponent of Bitcoin, who's going to be the BlackRocks of the world. They make their money from both sides of the trade, right? And so they're not looking just for only up. They want that volatility. They want the up and the down. And you're going to see a lot more people taking profits, you know, on incremental gains that you weren't seeing before, right? Because a lot of times people will let it ride. And I think that is kind of going to get knocked out of the market a little bit with regards to Bitcoin. You know, meme coins, obviously BlackRock's not over here, or, you know, pension funds aren't over here buying up dog with hat to put into your retirement.
Dog with hat ETF.
Yeah. So
yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying about the dollar. And I did a study on correlation between movement of the dollar or Dixie and Bitcoin, and it tends to be negatively correlated the highest during really volatile moves by the dollar. So I think what you were seeing in, you know, the earlier time period where Bitcoin was moving lockstep with the dollar, you don't really see these giant green candles. I mean, it doesn't always work like that. There's other factors that will influence risk asset prices, but this green candle that we're having right now is pretty substantial for the dollar.
Yeah, you're talking about here, right? Like,
yes,
kind of positively correlated, right?
Yeah, so that happens sometimes. I actually have a whole video on it on my channel, and it's one of the least popular videos. People don't like watching videos on correlation, I guess.
Yeah, no. People don't like watching videos that matter. They like watching, you know, what shitcoin's going to 300x today. So
yeah,
that's where the YouTube game's at.
So I'm going to try, if I can, to screen share again now that my mouse is working. So let me see.
Yeah, go for it. This is a real professional level operation we're running right here, if you couldn't tell. Like, right, I have James Molinari as a fraud. Stuck on the screen. I put that on the screen and I don't know how. Like, I love it. That's what you get here.
Bring the comments up. Okay, so can you see this is
I do agree with the sentiment, but
oh, that's funny. So if this is gold on the weekly, I probably should pull out to the monthly for gold. Weekly is generally not really what I like looking at for it, but you can see that it had a pretty nice accumulation range in here after having a brief bear leg in the past decade while crypto is really doing some amazing things. And, you know, we are seeing gold start to break out, but what I've been trying to tell people on my channel is this isn't going to, you know, this isn't likely to just go straight up to the moon. Like, I do think during this period where Dixie is strong and gold is a little bit strong, we might see risk assets pull back. And we are seeing that happen. We've seen the S&P start to pull back, NASDAQ pull back, you know, so on and so forth, Bitcoin pull back. But, you know, I see a lot of stuff on online about, oh, this is the end, recession's imminent because gold's taking off. No, I don't think so. Not necessarily. For those of you on Jay's channel who aren't familiar with my metrics, let me actually switch to arrow here. I want to talk about two of the metrics here. So the green and red channel, this is called the Gaussian channel, or the Gaussian Snek, as you know, Laura would have it. That's where my name comes from. This is one of my favorite indicators. It's a visual representation of a standard normal distribution of price. And so you over time, and you have sort of your mean right here, and then you have different standard deviations away from the mean in either direction. And just to educate people on how this channel works, is it is a lagging indicator, and generally speaking, it works best on higher time frames. So when the Gaussian channel is green and concave up, so like right here, and narrowing, that is generally very bullish. That means price action has been bullish for some time. When it inflects and goes concave down, like it's doing here, that's actually not a bullish sign. And that can indicate weakness. And you saw the dip down into the Gaussian that probably caused this to inflect. When the Gaussian channel is red and concave down, that tends to be quite bearish, but you tend to find bottoms for an asset during that time, as we did here with gold. And when you challenge the Gaussian channel and it's concave down, you tend to not win that challenge. When the Gaussian channel is concave up, you have a better chance of overcoming that challenge, and especially if you slice right through it. Here was kind of a fake out, came back down, and then off to the races we went. So I like this indicator because it can give me an idea of what the prevailing momentum is for an asset. And this momentum is quite hard to overcome on longer time frames. The what looks like traditional Bollinger Bands here are actually not traditional Bollinger Bands. These are weighted logarithmic Bollinger Bands. So they do look a little bit different than Bollinger Bands, but they work in more or less the same way. You have your mean line right here, and then plus or minus 2 standard deviations away from the mean as well. So to see that gold has finally started to hug the top part of the weighted logarithmic Bollinger Band tells me that this move probably has some legs to it. But seeing that the Gaussian channel is concave down in green, I think we're going to see a pullback at some point. That's kind of what I'm projecting. I don't think that this is the breakout for gold. I think we could get up to the 26, 2700 level, but I do think it will pull back at some point.
Right. All right. Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, I don't really have any opinions about gold. So
yeah, I just bring gold up because a lot of people are pointing to it right now. Like a lot of the gold maxis out there are saying, "Oh, gold's running, recession or whatever." But yeah. I don't really see it that way, right?
Yeah, I guess this is why I don't go on X that much, because I feel like I get hypertension every time I'm on there, just reading people's opinions about things, and you just know they're wrong, but you don't have any way to stop them from saying it. So
yeah,
I don't know in particular what they're saying about gold, but especially with relation to the crypto market, you see it all the time. So yeah, I just try
absolutely. So I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad idea to invest in gold. Bitcoin has outperformed gold dramatically since its inception, but I don't have any. I mean, gold is a hard asset, that can't really inflate away. So I can see arguments for it. Yeah. I wanted to move on to Bitcoin. I think that's enough macro probably. So
yeah, we don't want to we'll make people go to sleep if we talk about that.
Exactly. So I'm gonna pull up some Bitcoin stuff, and thank you for sticking out through some macro. I brought that stuff up only because people do wonder what's going on right now, and I wanted to hopefully put some people's minds at ease that if you're worried that we're about to crash into a recession, I agree with you, nobody truly knows. It just doesn't feel that way at all. So
yeah, I mean, I was an economics major, and I feel bored talking about macro. So
yeah, I mean,
I can understand the reason people. No, I mean, I guess I like things where I like discussing things. I feel like where you can. The theoretical discussion around macro is definitely, I do enjoy it. But I feel like it's harder to quantify. And I like talking about things where you can kind of, I guess I can talk about it with you, or, talk about it to the people, and, that can result in them making better decisions,
exactly.
Going forward. But when you're talking about macro, a lot of times it's, there's a huge amount of speculation involved with it. So it's less actionable, I think, a lot of the time.
Yeah. So I'm done talking about macro.
I'm not trying to,
no, it's all good.
Don't come on my channel talking about that shit ever again.
No, it's all good though. I thought that was necessary to at least discuss some of it. I've got my Bitcoin chart pulled up here. if you, I guess you have to share.
Yeah,
with us.
sorry. I don't know.
No, it's all
I don't
good.
know how to let you do it.
I've got like 4 separate Bitcoin charts that I've already preloaded. So this is Bitcoin on the 2-week, and I really love the 2-week time frame. There's a few interesting artifacts of the 2-week that I want to share with you guys. So one of them is the Gaussian channel. If you go back to 2016, I think 2015, 2016, this is the only time on the 2-week time frame that Bitcoin has ever had the Gaussian turn red, indicating substantial negative price momentum. When it emerged from that, which was in June, July of 2016, it blasted out and then retested the Gaussian in about a month or two later, and then it just went off on a complete crazy bull run, and it never even came below this median line of the weighted logarithmic Bollinger Band. So if we come over here to where we're at now, the Gaussian turned red in December of 2022, which we know was a very significant time in Bitcoin's price history, and then kind of hobbled its way up to the median line in October of 2023, and then just blasted off. And now we're seeing just a little bit of downside. But if you look on the 2-week, I mean, this is really nothing to get that scared about, in my opinion. We are hitting resistance, at the previous all-time high from a month ago. That's not surprising at all. Now, what I did want to share with you is this. I have this
Snek,
indicator.
let me stop you there and ask you something, because we're framing this from the perspective of Bitcoin, but
Yes.
I suspect a lot of people out there are probably underinvested in Bitcoin,
Yes.
and overinvested in the more speculative, to put it nicely, aspects of the market.
Yeah, I have charts pulled up for that too.
Well, let me ask you,
Sure.
what do you think, what you're showing here, how do you think that this is ultimately going to impact those, the altcoin market, essentially?
They're going to get washed out.
So you think we're in we're entering into a stage of the market where the Bitcoin is going to continue building dominance, and a lot of the rest of the market's going to get wiped?
That is sort of my base case. Yes.
Okay.
I'm not necessarily able to tell you how wiped the market's going to get, or how sustained this correction is going to actually be. I have no way of really knowing that. But if you look at this indicator right here, this is a price momentum indicator that's got a very simple formula to it, yet has been very accurate in calling tops.
Right.
It calculates the difference between the sum of recent gains and then the sum of recent losses, and divides the result by the sum of all price movement over the same period. So we just hit a top on this, roughly, it's kind of hard to say exactly the date, but pretty close to March. That this is like price momentum, and it got up to 98. That has not happened since March of 2013, March and April of 2013, but specifically March, and before that, not since 2011.
Right, and your other times where it gets up there are like the end of the 2017 and 2021. It looks like.
Yeah, so in 2017, that was all she wrote, but you can see there was this extended climb up. I feel like our price movement has been more similar to coming out of 2012 and heading into 2013, kind of like a little bit more like this if you go look at the fractal.
Right.
Okay. So I don't think the market is done and over with. You can see here's March. We had a little kink in it, because you always see these little kinks on the way down, and those kinks can be quite significant. It may not look that significant on here, but if we go back, this is April 2021. We know that was when the market started to roll over. But here's November, right? We had a secondary peak in November. The price momentum was not nearly as significant as this entire leg, but it's kind of like a bear market rally of price momentum. And I suspect we're heading into that right now, which means that there'll probably be symptoms along the way that could correspond to higher highs in price. We could see price breach 75K potentially on one of those. So, but to answer your question, I'll have to share another screen here. Sorry, you have to take the reins every single time I do this.
No, it's fine. So that metric, was that capped at 100?
Yes.
I'm trying to think. So it's what you said, the sum of price change over the ATR?
It's the difference between the sum of recent gains and the sum of recent losses, and that's divided by the sum of all price movement over a time period.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, it's a simple metric, but like it's powerful. It's done a really good job of calling significant, what I would call ROI peaks, maybe in the market, return on investment from cycle bottom. That's kind of like all I really care about anyways. I don't care about price. I care about ROI. So let me pull up Bitcoin dominance, because this is what would answer your question. This is Bitcoin dominance on the weekly, and Bitcoin dominance has been in a bull market for quite some time, for over a year now. And it's kind of hard to really say what the trend for dominance is. Like, will it hit this trend? I mean, this trend line only has like a couple touch points, so I would take this trend line with a grain of salt. But in general, we would expect that Bitcoin dominance would be a macro bleeder for a while at least. It does appear at some point it might break out one way or the other, but I've kind of set my target around the 58%, maybe 60% level. As the altcoin market and Ethereum have become more capitalized. But you can see that this has been a very strong trend all throughout 2023. It's kind of weakened a little bit coming into 2024. I suspect that there might be an inflection forming here from this weakness, showing that the momentum for dominance might be losing some steam. But could we get a blow off top to dominance on a Bitcoin dump? Absolutely. What will happen to the altcoin?
Actually, Snek, if you don't mind, I'm going to throw this up here real quick. This is... sorry, I should have had it ready, but
no worries.
This is the I guess, quote unquote, true Bitcoin dominance.
Okay.
And, so you were just mentioning that you were kind of targeting like 58, 60%. So this kind of excludes stable coins,
right,
in the calculation.
Okay. Sure.
Which, that's why I say quote unquote true Bitcoin dominance, because whether or not you want to exclude those is a whole different matter. But, this kind of is reaching up to some of those levels that you were just discussing here. So I don't know, are you calling 60 with like reference to a technical level? Because, back in like 2019, there were no stable coins, or the stable coins that were there were an arbitrary value. Like, it was the difference between like 70-71%.
Yeah, no, it's a valid point. I mean, I have considered tossing stable coins. I do in some calculations. So it's a valid point. There are a lot of stable coins now. I mean, I think that Bitcoin dominance will likely hit resistance fairly soon. If you look at,
I mean, if you just look at like a simple trend line, like it kind of is at this level where it either acts as a support or a resistance level, in the past anyway. So I think it's a valid point you're making.
I think we're near a Bitcoin dominance top. I don't think we're there yet. I think a lot will depend on how things play out the rest of this month and into May. But I don't think Bitcoin dominance has a lot of gas left in the tank to run. But things do have a way of blowing off at the end. So I think that this is going to be kind of a trying time for altcoins, or as you call the other coins, and Ethereum. And I have some
speculative market.
Speculative market, yeah. And I have some charts to back that up, But if I were looking to enter into the altcoin market and I held a lot of Bitcoin, I would be looking very, very closely at dominance to see when I think that it might be topping out. This is not financial advice, of course, but if I start to see signs that, okay, Bitcoin dominance is probably topping out and I'm very Bitcoin heavy and I'm in the mood to take some risk, I might start to de-risk some of my Bitcoin into Ethereum or perhaps some altcoins. So that would be kind of like my approach if I were Bitcoin heavy. Obviously, if you're not Bitcoin heavy, then dominance is just kind of, weighing your portfolio down right now. But yeah, that's kind of my thinking with regards to that. So I'm going to pull up another chart. if that's okay. I know I'm loaded with charts.
Yeah,
So
sorry.
many
Let me
charts.
just
Yeah,
Snek,
sure.
there's a couple people asking some questions here, so let's
Okay, I can't see any of the questions, just so people know. I can't
oh,
see.
all right. Yeah, sorry. Actually, I can show it on the screen.
Perfect.
So Andy wanted to know about the number of wallets. So this is something, I think he's talking about, actually it was more active addresses, I think he says. This is something, with relation to Bitcoin. So while we're on the topic real quick, um, you know, I don't know if you have any thoughts about this, and actually I can pull this up.
I don't have any what's it called? On-chain data available right now. So that seems like more of an on-chain kind of question.
Yeah, let me.
I would imagine that there's some more active addresses coming on board. That would be my speculation.
Yeah, so this is actually an interesting thing because if you look here, I mean, there are a whole can of worms around this topic. Sorry, I have to. Let's see, window. Here we go. So in white, we have the Bitcoin price.
Okay.
And in green, we have active addresses. And let's just, let's kind of smooth it out.
Yeah, let's smooth that out.
We'll actually add this here. We could just do it like that. So you can see that. Let's go back to like 2019.
Yes.
And there was a clear uptrend, right? Like active addresses went from around, and we're looking at a 7-day active addresses here. So the values might be a little bit different than people are used to looking at. So active addresses were, 3 million, 4 million, building all the way up to around 6 million. So that's, around 6 million users over the course of a week. And now we're sitting down here at 5 million, right? With like peaks, we had peaks up to around 6 million, which coincidentally or not occurred right as the market was kind of taking off. If you notice, like we peaked right here. But what you're seeing is kind of a stalling out of this, increase in active addresses, which I think indicates, two things. One of them is something that, people can be optimistic about. And one of them is something that, if you're a Bitcoin maxi, I don't think you're necessarily going to want to hear. And the first is, well, let's consider the fact that the ETF just came out. All right. And so I think we could do it like this. If we consider that fact that the ETF just came out, well, all these people who have been buying Bitcoin are not quote unquote participating on the network. So one of the reasons, very likely, that we're not seeing a commensurate increase in the number of active addresses is because of the fact that all of those transactions are happening, with one address now, or, 10 addresses per ETF, or how many ever addresses they have. It's not more than, it's not in the millions, right? It's going to be like something like maybe they have all of their Bitcoin that they're holding spread out amongst 10 or 20 or 30 addresses. But you may have hundreds of thousands of people buying Bitcoin via this ETF or buying it via their pension fund, right? However they're buying it. So maybe overall you have more individuals participating on the network, but they're not participating on the network in terms of the traditional way that we used to see it. Okay. So that's the positive side of the story. The negative side of it is I don't think that this lack of increase in addresses is I don't think the ETFs are enough to kind of explain why we're not seeing a lack of increase in addresses. I think what you're seeing here is there are no new participants in the crypto market other than stock market participants, right? ETF buyers. So this kind of explains to me, I think there's two things to talk about here. And actually, so Derek wanted to talk about kind of like, the altcoin market. What are the strong ones?
Sure, I can address that, the
Yeah.
altcoin question, but
Yeah.
you know,
Let me
to
just
go,
make one last point here, Snek.
yeah, yeah,
Sorry.
sure.
Just, I think this is from my perspective, and I'm interested to see what you think. I think this explains why you're not really seeing, that proliferation of a lot of the, like, why is Polkadot stuck in the mud? Why is all these L1s, why are they stuck in the mud? And we're not really seeing anything move other than Solana, AVAX, a couple other L1s like near. Why
Yeah,
aren't we really seeing any of the traditional quote unquote good projects? Why aren't we seeing them moving? Why is the only thing that we're seeing move right now are these meme coins? And I have a few thoughts about that, but what is your kind of take on both of those things? Like what are we seeing right here with the active addresses, and why is the altcoin market kind of stuck where it is?
those are two really loaded questions.
Yeah,
But I'll
good
start.
luck.
Yeah, I'll do my best with active addresses. I agree with. I think the ETF has had a material impact on that. I also think the diversity of the crypto market, um, the increased diversity. You talk about the altcoin space in 2024 compared to 2020, compared to 2015, 2016. It's a whole different game right now. We have Bitcoin ordinals. All kinds of stuff, but I do agree that at the end of the day, this does speak to a muted retail involvement. It looks, from a purely chartist and technical point of view, it looks like an accumulation phase. That whole, I can't tell what date that is, I guess November-ish, the second peak of Bitcoin, all the way to where we are now, looks just like a completely sideways accumulation range. I
Right.
guess it's good that it hasn't gone down. It seems to
Right.
have held support, maybe double bottomed. But yeah, I mean, I think that it would be very, very disappointing if this was it, right? You'd be like, wow, crypto is dead, right? But I don't
Yeah.
think so. I think we'll see activity pick up in the second half of the year. I think we need to
Yeah.
cool off. And
This is
I
the
think,
like the 24-hour chart, by the way, here. So
okay.
it has dipped down ever since, like, no one's buying Bitcoin at 70K is kind of what it
Yeah,
looks
I
like.
mean, well, because the supply and profit, unrealized profit was like
Right.
maxed out pretty much. So, um, most people in their right mind won't be buying Bitcoin to 73K,
Right.
So we are seeing that trend down a little bit, of course, because you've got some bag holders now from 73. But I think this will trend up as we go further into the year. I don't think we'll be sideways the entire year. I think the ETF inflows are a significant factor in keeping the active address, a 7-day SMA muted somewhat, but I think, retail will come in if the altcoin market starts taking off, as I think is likely to happen. And I have reasons for that. But what was your other question about why are L1s and meme coins moving and
Yeah,
stuff?
like, so just to kind of lay out what I'm seeing right now is, if you go back to 2021, and by the way, this is the total Bitcoin percent, or the supply and profit. Um,
Great.
yeah, and so it kind of topped out, but by default, when you get to a new all-time high, you're going to
That's what
be,
happens.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
By
math,
definition, right?
math
Yeah.
happens when it happens.
Yes, it does.
um, so back in 2021, like, I think there was like more, um, I don't know if you want to call it if it was like a naive approach to the market, or people hadn't like become jaded to kind of everything that's going on. But there was legitimate, this is a real thing. Crypto is real. It's, it's changing the world. It's going to change the world. DeFi is going to kind of uh, give back the financial, the workings of the financial world back to the people. Not that they ever had it, which, is
Whole
a whole
separate
different
topic.
discussion.
Yeah.
But, people thought that all these different L1s were going to just, change the world. And well, here we are, 4 years later. And I think people have had a, harsh dose of reality, and that's that you know, a lot of these projects are nothing. They're literally nothing. Like, we've been on an AI rally, and a lot of these AI coins have nothing to do with AI. And that's not me.
No, I know you're right. You're absolutely right
Yeah,
about that.
yeah. It's not me being pessimistic. And I'm not talking about, like, you know, Corgi AI or something like that. I'm talking about a lot of the AI projects that are in the, you know, the top echelon of those projects. And when I say a lot of them, I mean probably all, but maybe a couple, maybe one or two, have nothing to do with AI. They have no use case, or a very loosely related use case to crypto, and it's just attached to a tokenized asset in order to, you know, let's put it this way: there's probably some Russian guy out on a yacht somewhere right now, thanks to a lot of, you know, a lot of us funding, you know, funding his AI token.
Yeah, I mean,
So
the VCs are the ones who always win. You know, they
yeah,
get in before anybody can even conceive of getting in, and they dump
right.
on retail.
Yeah, and so ultimately, like, there's two things here to talk about, and you actually just I think just touched on one of them. I have a theory as to why we're seeing all the meme coins kind of take off right now. And
Sure.
that's, you know, when you were researching crypto back in 2020, 2019, you had a chance to get in on Solana when it was, you know, I don't remember the exact number, but it was like under $100 million market cap. And I think it was well under that. You don't have the chance to do that with L1s anymore, legitimate L1s. They drop, and the day that they're out, they're already at like a $2 billion market cap. So, you know, that was part of the appeal of the crypto market is, man, you have a chance to get in on the ground floor now. You have a chance to get in at the beginning. You don't have that anymore, because now they do these, you know, if we look at, like, what's the, God, if you look at, like, what's the number of tokens that actually go to the public now, you know, in the initial offering, it's like 5% of the coins, and then it's like, oh, 40% is owned by the founders, 40% is owned by the foundation. Like, that's any different than the fucking founders? It's the same thing, right?
It's all a way of masking the venture capitalist and
Right.
early investors that yeah, I mean, crypto's turned into a shell game now, where, I mean, arguably it's always been that, but like you said, in the earlier days of altcoins, it wasn't unusual to find a new project that was under $1 million market cap that
Right.
was very promising. And we would consider something like Chainlink. I don't remember what Chainlink debuted at in terms of TMC, or FDV, but I'd imagine, you know, at the time it seemed quite bloated, but compared to now, like I remember when Pith, Solana's price oracle came out, I was like, $500 million initial valuation. Like, what the hell? For a freaking price feed oracle?
Yeah.
Like what the, like, I know Chainlink is probably a few multiples of that, but Chainlink's been out since, like, you know, 2017 or
Yeah,
something.
like it's late 18, or, you
Yeah,
know,
they were around
sorry,
18, and
early,
it's like,
18 or late 17, whatever it was. Yeah.
and then like you see like Celestia, which is a new layer one, or TIA as it's known. That thing was bloated as hell. I mean,
Right.
only 8% of the circulating supply was out, and I think you may be starting to see some of that in the price action of that coin. I'm not a huge fan of these venture capitalist backed projects, but let's face it, they're everywhere and they're hard to avoid.
Right. Like, here's a, you know, you can barely, it's, you know, in terms of, like, let me share this here. This is Athena. Like, here's its market cap kind of once it comes onto the stage, you know, right at a billion. You know, it starts at $1 billion, right? And so I know it's a little tough to see here.
Yeah, I
I
can't really make it out too well.
yeah, it's yeah, this is not a great, you probably have to make this full screen, but whatever. It's, you know,
That's
it
okay.
launches at $1 billion, right? And
Yeah.
whatever it's at now, maybe $1.5 billion, but people, that's not how it used to be. And I think that's part of, that's part of why I believe that we're seeing a lot of these meme coins doing so well, is because of this fact, because of the fact that you don't have the opportunity that you used to have, because the venture capitalists have, like you said, they kind of they know what's going on here, and I don't think it's ever going to go back to how it was. So
Yeah, I agree with
either
you.
that or the crypto market kind of erodes itself because of that.
Yeah, we could become kind of like the stock market. And I do think over time that is what we will become like. I hate to say it, but it's a good thing and a bad thing. We're going to eventually get regulated. I mean, it's already been starting. If the SEC could focus on other things and, coming after Uniswap and Coinbase like the way they have so aggressively, and
Right.
insider trading, if they can get away from that, maybe they can actually do their job. But yeah, I agree with you. That is something that I've noticed. Meme coins are coming in with fairly low valuations sometimes. A lot of them are community centric, where you can do all kinds of airdrop farming, and you can be one of the early bag holders that dumps on everybody.
Right. Yeah.
You saw this with a Solana meme coin called When, where if you look at that chart for When, it's just this giant red candle that just wouldn't stop going down when it first launched. I mean, it's insane. Like,
Right.
and then it kind of like found a bottom, went up, went down, went back up. I don't know where it's at now, but yeah, I think that is a good point about why. I mean, I found, like if you go back to the past cycles, there wasn't a lot of diversity in meme coins quite like there is now. Like you had, Dogecoin was a fork of Litecoin, but it kind of was treated as a meme coin, even though it was a layer one.
Right.
Shiba Inu came out last cycle. That I remember some really funny ones too that came out last cycle as well. I don't necessarily need to name all of them, but this cycle, it seems like every single layer one out there has like a gazillion meme coins. And then Solana has their own little DEX casino where you have like new meme coins debuting like every second.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's, I understand the reasons why, or, I can understand the appeal in investing them, but ultimately, there's a couple things, like no one cares about like engaging in some type of destructive behavior now for the potential of profit now. No one's going to not do it to like for the betterment of the market, like 2 years from now, because no one gives a shit, right? Like we're not
correct.
We're not like actually in this together, like people like to say, or that kind of stuff. But I think the longer that this goes on with meme coins, that's the kind of thing that politicians love to get involved with.
Of
right?
course.
Because there will be some big scam out there, or even a small one, and they'll just kind of use that to kind of come in and regulate the market further. And ultimately, what can you say? How can you say they're wrong? Right? Like
They're not
I
wrong.
understand how we can say like I should be able to invest in a meme coin if I want to, right? But when you're sitting there on Capitol Hill, that argument just doesn't, it's not going to sound as good as, the argument that the person's making against, they're investing in a coin because it has a picture of a dog on it. Like, what does that mean? Why are they allowed to do this? What is happening? They're just, and, they'll warp it in whatever ways. And it's just like we're teeing it up for the politicians, basically, with this market cycle. I think, I don't know. I think it's ultimately good that people are potentially profiting off of these things, but in the long run, I see it being kind of destructive to the market.
As a counterpoint to that, I have seen some meme coins actually do some pretty useful things. Like useful. They've done more than just be memes. Like in this cycle, you see memes that will bring in NFTs that maybe have some kind of value to them, or games. Seen a lot of GameFi kind of being, and I don't want to be on here, shilling tokens, so I'm not going to name any, but there are games out there that have been based off of a meme coin. So, but then there's
I think at the end of the day, people, I'm not as heavy into the altcoin market as maybe people would like. So if you like, I don't think there's anything wrong with, no, it's not financial advice, guys. All right. So, so you
Yeah,
can,
I mean, we all have
if
different
you,
goals, right?
right. Yeah. If you have tokens that you want to mention, go ahead. I think people are interested in that kind of thing. And
Yeah,
they don't get it with me. So
I don't know that I want to get in. I mean, we'll see what maybe some of the questions are, but
sure. Okay.
just for ethical reasons, of course I hold the ones that maybe I like, right? And I don't want to like
I don't think we'll be driving the market here. And
yeah, I don't know how
will
many
be.
comments you're getting on your end, but like this is Ethereum versus Bitcoin. So when you bring up altcoins, the very first thing I think of is Ethereum versus Bitcoin. And Ethereum tends to move in a right translated way compared to Bitcoin. And I know you and I were talking about this offline. Ethereum has competition for sure, no doubt about it. It's got a lot of competition, but it's in a bear market against Bitcoin. It's been in a bear market against Bitcoin. I mean, arguably for quite some time. You can see the Gaussians red and concave down, and we broke this multi-year support in March, so just a month ago. And if you pull up the VRVP, like maybe from here, see, I think I might already have that turned on. No, I'll just have to pull it up. But yeah, if we pull up the VRVP, let's see. I normally like to have fibs along with this, but this is not looking the way that I wanted it to look. Oh yeah, because I would normally do fibs from a swing high to a swing low. Anyways, for some reason, this is just, there is major volume support that for some reason I am not seeing right now because of maybe the time. Oh, I'm all the way in 2022. No wonder. Let me see if I can pull this up.
Yeah, this metric's funny how it you have to get it just right or else it
Yeah,
shows you like
I usually have fibs along with it. So there's your Ethereum high. Let me see, maybe I'll pull some fibs up. Well, we've just made a new low, so that's, well, whatever. I'm just gonna say, and I don't know what's going on right now with my fibs, but or not my fibs, my VRVP. I'm just gonna shut it off for now. But the point is, like, when I had the right time frame that I was on, this region in here, there's a ton of volume support. So basically anything between 0.03 to 0.04 for ETH Bitcoin. I have a hard time seeing it get this far down. I think 0.04 is a reasonable target. But there's nothing but air basically between 0.04 and 0.05. And so this trend line that dates back quite a few years, I mean, all the way to like 2019, finally got broken. And it's kind of there's every time Bitcoin has dropped a little bit, Ethereum against Bitcoin has just nosedived. Now, what is a nosedive? I mean, this is a nosedive, but I mean, it has a knee-jerk reaction. On Bitcoin pumps, it maybe goes up a little bit or drops a little bit, but on Bitcoin dumps, man, it comes down. And you're seeing this kind of in concert with dominance. Now, why am I bringing this up? There are a lot of layer 2s and Ethereum related altcoin projects that are just not doing very well right now, like Uniswap, Chainlink, Polygon. The list goes on and on. Aave. Do I think that those projects are dead because of like Base, for instance, coming in and killing it? No, I don't. I do think that Ethereum will be the shining star of the second quarter of the bull cycle, or the second half of the bull cycle, presumptively. But it needs to find a bottom first against Bitcoin. And I don't think that's going to happen while Bitcoin is busy having dominance top out, right? I think that as dominance tops out, I think you'll see Ethereum, Bitcoin continue to fall until whatever its final scare is, and maybe define some kind of bottoming process. And maybe the Gaussian channel at that point will be as concave down, or it will be more like flat, and it'll give the opportunity for Ethereum, Bitcoin to rise out of the ashes. I want to show Polygon versus Bitcoin to kind of show what I mean by Ethereum related altcoins bleeding like stuck pigs. So I do happen to hold a fair amount of Polygon because I love the tech. Right. The tech is what wins in a bull market. Of course, I'm absolutely bullshitting right there, but no, I do love the idea of the aggregator layer and ZK EVM rollups. You know, I think it's tech that will actually translate to good use. But anyway, this is Polygon versus Bitcoin, and I mean Polygon versus ETH looks horrible too. But talk about a chart that's bleeding, a falling knife. You have one right here. I drew this target zone a long time ago based on this support over here and also VRVP support, which is kind of a reflection of this anyways. And you can see this trend line, Polygon actually held up very well during Bitcoin's bear market. People forget this, but Polygon did quite well during the bear market. And Ethereum did too, arguably. And I kind of think of Polygon as a more volatile version of Ethereum, and that I expect it to bleed more heavily against Bitcoin and Ethereum during a bear market against Bitcoin, but to outperform Ethereum and Bitcoin during a bull market. And so I'm anticipating this to be a bottoming zone. And look at, I feel like we're getting close. And once Polygon finds a bottom, I think this thing is going to mean revert like crazy, like boom, bounce. I think we're going to see a bounce out of this. And it'll be one of the most hated rallies in crypto. Everybody hates Polygon right now. Everybody hates Chainlink. Everybody hates Uniswap. And they have valid reasons. And they are older projects. And there's no guarantee that we take out. This is like a quadruple top against Bitcoin. So I would guess that best case, maybe we come back up to test this at some point in the future. I don't think that Polygon's going to necessarily outperform Bitcoin. That would be very doubtful. But you can see how the Bollinger Band's just opened up and it's vomiting out here. So this is indicative of a large swath of the altcoin market that depends on Ethereum that is underperforming and has been underperforming and will continue to underperform until Bitcoin dominance finds a top and Ethereum Bitcoin finds a bottom. So yeah. I would just be careful about fading the Ethereum ecosystem too much. It is the OG layer 2. Even Base is on top of Ethereum. You know, Optimism is its layer 3. But I think Ethereum is going to shine probably around the summer, if I had to guess. That's been kind of my projection, that this we probably take till about maybe May, early June-ish to find a bottom here, maybe as Bitcoin sort of carves out a correction path. Whether that happens after the halving, you know, or whether it's already happening now, who the hell knows. But I did offload about half of my Polygon stack at a profit to offset the opportunity cost of holding a bleeder, but I did keep half of it because I don't know if and when this is going to bounce, but I think it's going to bounce hard. Because of how hyperextended it is from this red Gaussian channel. You're talking many standard deviations away. This is like a blow off bottom in the making. It's parabolic in the wrong direction. So yeah.
Well, actually, I have a chart to show for Polygon here. So at the end of the day, I like to think about the market in terms of you know, who cares? Like, this is how I approach it. And I'm not saying it's right or not, but who cares about like how great the tech is, you know, what it's, you know, you might have the most, like the most perfect L1, or in this case, an L2 that exists. But if no one's using it, it doesn't really matter, in my opinion, because ultimately, that's what's going to determine price. Like, I think Chainlink has some of the best fundamentals of any asset in the crypto market, because quite frankly, if we want to talk about actual use cases, like a reason to exist, Chainlink might be, you know, now you might argue that it's enabling a bunch of crap to happen, but it enables all of that crap to happen. A lot of the, and then once you get to the crap layer, maybe it doesn't do anything, but you know, Chainlink is actually enabling that to work.
Yes.
And you know, these L2s obviously have a very defined use case, but with Polygon, it comes down to, is anyone using it, right? And so this is the active addresses chart for Polygon.
What does that date back to, by the way?
We're going all the way back to we can go back to the beginning, right? So, you know, 0 addresses, and then until, and I have it on like a 30-day moving average here.
Okay.
So in 2019, like 30, starting out at 30, and then we built up. So we got up to 10K on a 30-day basis. And we've basically seen that kind of, I think you have to be careful applying like traditional TA to stuff like this because, I don't think we have like support and resistance levels necessarily for like users, right? It's not like we get up to like 10,000 users and, oh no, we're hitting that resistance level, right? Like,
you'd be surprised, Jay.
yeah, no, you're right.
TA
You're
seems to
right.
hold on a lot of things. You'd be surprised.
It does, but
But I get your point. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're sitting down like, just to quickly show this. So this is, I think we can do that. Yeah. This is Ethereum. And we actually have seen an increase in the number of Ethereum users, right? It's nearly doubled in this market. But importantly, if we go back, if we just zoom in here, we're still sitting even below, like, we're kind of like at the beginning of the kind of, I guess April would be like the end of the Bitcoin market, and then just kind of leading into that altcoin market.
Yes.
So we haven't really seen, unless this thing is going to continue on for months and months, I think we've just overall seen a very disappointing market based on a lot of this. And I think someone up here mentioned something, John. And so are you able to see that there, Snek?
Yes, the reason because they shut down fiat on-ramps, pretty much impossible to transfer any amount of decent USD to Binance or other major non-US exchanges these days besides P2P.
And I don't know, that could be a very good reason that we're seeing some of this. I think another reason is, we just put SBF behind bars, not, 6 months ago. I don't even know how long ago it was at this point.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
It took a while. Yeah.
So that's fresh in people's minds. They're not going to be rushing back. Your average person who's not like a crypto addict isn't going to be rushing back into the crypto market when, they're paying double the food costs and, they're paying a 5+ interest rate on everything, just to get a loan. Debt is at, record levels right now, credit card debt.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of reasons to kind of getting away from the point about Matic here, but this is why I think ultimately it comes down to the bigger reason why we're not seeing crypto do anything, and this is, I think, why we're not seeing Matic do anything. There's whether this is a sustained trend or whether this is kind of an isolated event here, I can't say, but I think this explains a lot. The one thing I wanted to ask you, what do you think about Base? Because I personally think
I love it.
Yeah, I think it's going to take over the.
Awesome.
I think it's going to take over the L2 market because of the fact that how do you, it's answering this question here. How do you get people involved with things? And that's by using it. And Base is easy to use. They have the users already.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people underestimated Base. And just for those of you following who don't know what Base is a layer 2 that Coinbase uses, built on top of Ethereum with Optimism as its layer 3, built on top of Base. And Base has been killing it. Aerodrome Finance, Velodrome Finance, Aerodrome's on top of Base, Velodrome is on Optimism. I do hold some Velodrome. I don't hold Aerodrome, which is ironic considering it's my most popular video on my channel, and I saw it at 7 cents. But yeah, don't shoot the messenger. Yeah, like they are killing it. Jesse Polak has a very good attitude. It's all about usability. It's about being developer friendly. I actually respectfully disagree, though, that Base is going to eat so much into Ethereum's market share that Ethereum may underperform it, for instance. I know for a fact that, despite Polygon's awful reputation with developers, they absolutely deserve that awful reputation. They were not very developer friendly. They offered almost nothing in terms of incentives. They're horrible at marketing. That set aside, though, there's a lot happening behind the scenes at Polygon right now. There are multiple chains like IMX, OKX, Dogechain. They're all using Polygon's chain development kit or CDK. And if the aggregator layer works as intended, you're going to have all these ecosystems interconnected with ZK EVM rollups allowing for super fast scalability, where the more that the network is actually used, the cheaper it becomes to use. And Polygon has their own DEX called QuickSwap, which is a fork of Uniswap, actually. And there's all this stuff in development. OKX is developing their own native competitor to Base called X1. And a lot of people may not know about that, but they already partnered with, I forget the name of the company, but they partnered with people who are onboarding for projects. It's just, they're not going to be releasing everything in the middle of an Ethereum bear market against Bitcoin. So I do agree with you that Base is the shining star of, maybe we'll say, the first half of 2024, and arguably maybe even the entire cycle. And I do think Base dominance will become a thing going forward, because they've absolutely nailed it when it comes to being developer friendly. I'm friends with somebody who's been developing project on Base, and it's been a very seamless process. They're very consumer friendly. They've got a lot of engagement with retail. Mochi and Toshi, I think, are two meme coins that Brian Armstrong named after his cats. So like, yeah, there's a lot happening there, but I do think that people are underestimating, and I could end up being wrong. We'll see how this ages. People are underestimating the Ethereum ecosystem and what it's capable of. And I think it will. I think Chainlink, Polygon, Uniswap, blah, 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 blah. I think they're going to have some very hated rallies. People are going to be like, what? Where'd this come from? And it's also just rotation of capital. Like, if you want to talk about what altcoins are undervalued right now, relative not only to their Bitcoin pairs, but to their USD pairs. We know retail sometimes doesn't care about relative to Bitcoin or Ethereum pairs. They just want the price. Look at the Ethereum ecosystem. It's just sitting right there, undervalued with a ton of ROI potential. Whereas projects like Solana and other layer ones, other project meme coins and stuff, they have exhausted a lot of their ROI potential. Bitcoin has exhausted a lot of its ROI potential from cycle bottom. So I think from a rotation of capital point of view, that's where, like, if I were looking to take my profits from half one of 2024 and rotate them out, I would probably be looking at Ethereum plays, new and old. Like, I'm very interested in X1, which is, like I said, OKX's new layer one blockchain coming out pretty soon that uses Polygon's CDK. So, but yeah, they have to address the issue of user and developer onboarding. Absolutely, they have failed at that miserably.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, what, I guess, if there's not a lot of new people coming in right now, right? Or in my opinion, I don't know if that opinion is held, by other people, but in my opinion, there's not a lot of people coming in right now. How is anyone going to compete with, a lot of people that have been in the game for a long time? They've probably been mostly, I would say the average person is mostly exchange bound in the crypto market. They come in, they maybe hold some crypto, but they did it on Binance, they did it on Coinbase, or Kraken, at least in the US. And then probably in Europe there's all these OKX, like you said, and Bitfinex and BitMEX, all these. But if you're exchange bound, you talk to people about, like, using a wallet, using a DEX, like, they have no idea. They have no idea how to do it. And these are people that have been investing in crypto and perhaps even partially active in it for years now. A person can be that guy and now come in to, granted, Coinbase might not have the most users. In fact, I don't even know if it's second at this point or even third. I don't know where it falls. But it's prevalent, at least. You can be new to the crypto market, come in, and now, hey, I can buy that meme coin all of a sudden that I had no idea how to buy before. You can't do that on Polygon. I was just trying to use Polygon the other day, and I don't do a ton of kind of off exchange type stuff, but Polygon, it just wasn't very easy to use. But when it comes to when it came to using Base, it was, my dad could do it. My dad could go onto Base and figure it out. It says, do this, now do this, now do this. And all of a sudden you're using it.
Did you use QuickSwap?
No, you can use it directly through.
No, I meant on Polygon. Did you use QuickSwap?
Oh, I ended up not even using it. I just did it on Base.
Okay. Because I would say that I'm extremely familiar with the Polygon ecosystem, and I've also used Base, and I agree with you 100% about Base. But QuickSwap, which is Polygon's native DEX, is very easy to use, and all you got to do is hook up a Phantom wallet. And the thing that
but the fact is, I know more or less what I'm doing, and it was there was still, how it is in 2024.
Yeah.
You get like 1 ounce of resistance, and you're just like, fuck it, I'm doing something else.
Absolutely, right. and that is an issue, and this is one of the reasons I'm bullish on Polygon, is because of the aggregator layer, which is going to eliminate the need for bridging. Bridging is the worst thing ever. I hate it. Right,
and that was
I will tell you, my journey of buying Dogechain and selling Dogechain sucked.
Yeah.
Dogechain is the layer 2 that runs on top of Dogecoin, built on Ethereum. And I think I don't know if it's using Polygon now, or if it was going to use Polygon. I'd have to go look that over. But to make a long story short, the process I had to go through to buy some Dogechain sucked. I had to buy Dogecoin. I had to send it to Dogechain's native bridge it to wrap Doge, then send the wrap Doge over to my MetaMask, and then I had to connect the QuickSwap, switch from wrap Doge to Dogechain. Okay, I got my Dogechain, and then I had to enter in the chain connect, into my MetaMask, and in selling it was the same process backwards. And Dogecoin network is super, super slow. So, I mean, we're talking 40 minutes to an hour waiting for that shit to process. So I completely agree with you. But the thing is like the ag layer is going to eliminate the need for bridging. So you have things like Manta, you have IMX and all these other chains that are going to be interconnected. You're going to have true interoperability if this works as intended. That is the big if, right? And that's why I'm invested in it, because I think it will work as intended, but maybe it doesn't. And it's going to blow a lot of these chains out of the water. The way that, Matic has moved over to POL, Polygon version 2, they named it POL, which I think is stupid, but they don't know how to market to save their life.
Right.
And they're going to have 1% annual inflation. And I think like users who stake their POL on the network will actually be rewarded the more the network is used. Like the more congested it gets, the better it is, the faster it is, because of the off ramps that ZK rollups offer. So I kind of like put my mind into that. I'm like, ooh, that's going to really be a game changer. But a lot of this stuff isn't going to be released. Like X1 isn't going to be X1 is in testnet right now. A lot of stuff isn't coming until the latter half of this year, like summer, fall. So I think like if you're holding Ethereum or if you're holding Polygon, yeah, it sucks right now. Like the Polygon, like doing DeFi on Polygon, doing DeFi on Ethereum sucks. Bridging sucks. I hate bridging. But yeah, so I think like it's a question of, do you believe what they're saying? Do you believe what they're building is going to create a seamless user experience? And from what I understand, being immersed in this ecosystem, I think it will. But I think it will versus it already is doing that is kind of like to your credit about Base. Base is already killing it. They're already taking up that market share. And if they gobble up enough new retail, then by the time Polygon releases everything, who will be left to enjoy it?
Yeah, I mean, well, look at like Ethereum. Like the bottom line is Ethereum sucks. It would not exist if Ethereum came out right now, 0 users.
Absolutely,
not a single person. No one, Oh, actually, it would probably be fine because the fees wouldn't be, $100 at peak time.
Oh, the gas fees. Yeah. Don't get me started on that.
Yeah. Peak time would be 3 users if it released today. But it captured that early market share. And so here it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I think first mover advantage is a real thing. And so I'm not ready to personally fade Ethereum or Polygon, but if Ethereum finds a bottom against Bitcoin, and then Polygon fails to rally afterwards, and Ethereum starts to outperform Polygon on the way back up, I'll ditch my Polygon. I will move away from it so fast, because that will show me that sentiment is just gone in this ecosystem. Sentiment's pretty bad in their Telegram groups, I'll tell you that much. And but assets do have hated rallies. It does happen. So and Chainlink, despite all the issues, I mean, I think inflation killed them during the bear market and made them chop sideways a lot, instead of like maybe being one of the first to recover. They are more than just a price feed oracle. Like, they have so many different wings to their ecosystem. But then the question is, well, who cares, right? Like you said, most retail doesn't care. So
yeah,
I guess we'll find out in the second half of the year.
Chainlink has less users than Polygon does. I mean,
at the moment, yes.
Yeah. Well, like, I'm so sick of hearing about, like, listen, at the end of the day, I'm probably shooting myself in the foot here, because, I have a lot of, I've built a lot of what I have built on my channel via Chainlink. And so I love those guys, and I love Chainlink, and I think the technology is good. I'm so fucking sick of hearing about CCIP. Like, okay, when I can use CCIP, like, as a, when we're using it and it's solving all, when it's solving all of the world's problems, and it can go get me a beer out of my refrigerator, fine. Like, because that's what I've been promised with it. But right now, it's nothing. In the crypto market, potential, what it will do, what it could do, this and that and the next thing, don't fucking matter until it's, until the rubber meets the road. And
yeah, absolutely agree with that.
That's why I just think they're so, they are better at marketing these products than we are at understanding them. Is the bottom line.
I mean, that's what bull markets are all about. They're all about hype. That's all it is, right? Like, bull market fundamentals don't mean shit. You're right.
Okay, bro, 2 more weeks. Like,
another CCIP.
no,
yeah,
CCIP 2 more weeks. Like,
2 more weeks.
All right. Yeah. Well, then our Chainlink's all, we'll be, they'll all be $1,000 a link in 2 more weeks. Like, I mean, I'm not knocking CCIP for what it's worth. I'm just saying, like, people need to align their expectations with, reality. And even if CCIP does everything that we hope it does, we don't know, like, what will the actual cost of using CCIP be, right? Like, so we don't know what actual tangible benefit that's going to have for the market. And until we know all those things,
Let me ask you a question. I'm curious to hear your take on this. We had a discussion about this in your Discord many months ago. Speaking of usability and speaking of, Bitcoin ordinals, right? So we know that DeFi on Bitcoin has existed as a potential topic since Bitcoin's inception.
Right.
Vitalik Buterin was working on Colored Coin, I think it was called, back in 2012, which was supposed to be kind of like
racist.
Yeah, it's Vitalik. And there have been other attempts to bring DeFi to Bitcoin that have been, vehemently opposed by, OG Bitcoiners. But now, in 2022, we had Casey Rodemer, I think that's how you pronounce his name, basically wrote the code for Bitcoin ordinals, and we have the ordinals ecosystem. And I guess since your followers were asking, I am invested in ordinals. I hold some Ordi, for full disclosure, which is a BRC20 token. And this has been a real boon for Bitcoin miners. It's been a real pain in the ass for people who are trying to pull on-chain data, transaction keys too. So I'm curious what you think of the ordinals ecosystem. This is something I've been very immersed in as well since finding out about it last year. And it's not just Bitcoin. Dogecoin also has ordinals. Litecoin, believe it or not, has ordinals. So you're seeing these layer ones basically now learning to use their inscriptions. So like for Bitcoin, it's the Satoshis that make up the Bitcoin. And we're still early, right? So we're on the Genesis block still filling in the inscriptions. And you have runestones, which I'm learning more about right now, which are specific kinds of inscriptions that were rewarded to people who were early adopters. So I'm just curious to hear your thoughts about the Bitcoin ordinals system, DeFi, just all that. Is it garbage that's going to go away, or do you think this is here to stay?
Well, the argument could be made all of crypto is garbage.
Yeah, that's true.
That's one thing. This is why I'm always going to struggle, because I'm not willing to, put my blinders on and say, oh, this market's great. All this shit that we're using is amazing. I'm here to make money. That's it. So I think a lot of like ordinals, I don't know. I don't really have an opinion. It's a way to make, basically to exchange capital, just like a lot of the other parts of the market are. There's very few serious parts to this market, actual technology that's going to potentially change something in the world. And then there's a lot of like either A, for fun, or B, a method to exchange capital and play the greater fool game. And ultimately, like, if you accept that, that's fine. And, you can do both. You can have fun with something because they're interesting, and it's on Bitcoin. So it is on, whether you like it or not, it's on, a lot of people think that Bitcoin doesn't need to exist, but at the end of the day, Bitcoin is now, it's ingrained in the American financial system now, right?
Yes.
Like, it's an ETF, and there's, you have, you have pension funds, you have hedge funds, you have, these big time institutions invested in this thing. And so the fact that ordinals are tied to that, and intrinsically tied to it at that, I think lends them some credibility that a lot of this other stuff, like, I don't know, like the NFT stuff, at least the way that we were doing it in the crypto market, like, we're trading pictures of JPEGs that aren't even on the blockchain. It's a link to a URL, and then, that's something I think a lot of people don't realize is,
it can be
these
taken
NFT,
away at a moment's notice.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, you're basically have you're on the blockchain, you have a little certificate of ownership, but that JPEG isn't actually on the blockchain in a majority of the cases. It was, it's literally just a picture, and here's your little certificate that you own it.
Yes.
So I think having them intrinsically tied to the Satoshis, I think that's interesting. But I don't, and don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking anyone who is into them, because I think those, just like anything else in the crypto market, if you're on some particular pedestal, you can look down at them, right? If you're someone who's like, oh, I buy gold, oh, Bitcoin, how could you possibly buy Bitcoin, right?
Yeah,
so there's different layers of this moral high ground that you can stand on. And my particular one is kind of, I'm not standing above any of it. I'll buy the most ridiculous thing in the market if I think I have some type of advantage over other people. I just don't think I have that advantage when it comes to something like that, because I think I'm better at, my advantage lies in my long-term strategy, right? Like the rotating my capital, getting into and out of the market. So that's the only reason that I don't get into them. But when anyone asks me about like fundamentals, my first go-to response is, it's bullshit. It's nothing. It's probably nothing.
I agree with most of what you're saying, but I will say that the altcoin space is evolving. I'm going to bring up a project, not to shill it, because I actually don't own any of it, but just because I've been involved in Twitter spaces with people who have been doing this stuff. And it's basically, so Gala, remember Gala from last cycle?
Yeah, sure.
Gala has 3 wings to it. They have Gala Music, Gala Film, and Gala has actually, and the original Gala token itself. So Gala Film is kind of revolutionary, as is Gala Music, in the sense that what they're doing now is tokenizing Hollywood. So there's a television series premiering tomorrow called Razor. I did a video on Gala Film on my YouTube channel, so if anyone wants to check it out. And basically, it's decentralized television. And so you can buy NFTs that are associated with these shows, and they give you certain benefits. Like you can actually be involved in the show. You can speak to the producers. Like there's all kinds of really cool elements to this. It's called Film 3. This is kind of like, and Gala Music, similar kind of thing, like tokenizing music. And in Bitcoin ordinals, similar kind of idea where you can actually inscribe an entire album or stuff like that, and you have immutable ownership of it. So it seems a little scammy at first, but like I've done a pretty deep dive into it, and it actually seems like it could be something that's life-changing for people who've been kind of locked out of Hollywood and want, because like the film Razor, actually the producer of it went and got like, actors who have had maybe very little experience in the past or had trouble, getting through Hollywood's glass ceiling, and gave them roles, and they actually became members of the Screen Actors Guild after, doing this show. So
wait, so they went the decentralized route and then joined the man after and went to the mainstream.
Unfortunately, I mean, isn't that how it always works? I mean, Bitcoin just did that with BlackRock.
Yeah.
So,
true.
I mean, but it's actually kind of a cool thing. Like, I'm also here for the money, but while I'm here for the money, I like to do some fun things. So I've dabbled around in AI, and I've been dabbling around in Film 3. And just the fact that, people have been running nodes since on the Gala Film Network since 2022, I believe, back when the technology wasn't quite what it is now. And they've been earning something called popcorn. Yes, it's called popcorn, as a reward for running film nodes. And these film nodes are run all over the world, and that's what the TV is going to run off of. And people can watch this TV for free and interact with the shows through these NFTs and through other means. So, and then the film token, and then the popcorn tokens are going to get converted to something called film, and film is going to be a token people can buy and speculate on. So that's just one example. LimeWire and what's the other one? Napster. Remember them from?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, they've come back too.
Can't you still buy like BitTorrent or something like that?
Yeah. So like the point I'm trying to make is like, this is just one example of a crypto project actually trying to bring in real world utility. And you have, of course, you have DPIN plays and other RWA stuff that isn't as exciting, like Ondo, for instance.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I say like you have to walk a fine line with what you say, because I also talk I probably shoot myself in the foot a lot with this, especially like on the Discord, because I feel like 80% of the words that come out of my mouth are like hyperbole. So, I kind of look sideways at a lot of the crypto market, but I do appreciate that there's at least potential, but I think it gets degraded by the things that, don't have any actual potential. I don't mind meme coins for the reason that they, like you go on Dog with Hat website and it says just a dog with hat, right? It has all the buzzwords in the crypto market, like, oh, the future of finance and whatever, this and that, and it crosses them out slowly. It's like just a dog with that. Fine,
just a dog with that.
You're accepting what you are, and you're not trying to convince people that you're something else. But you have so many of these projects that are like, oh, the AI is the new buzzword of the day that we can point to, that don't actually, first of all, most people don't even care what they do, right? I think they think they care what they do, but they probably don't. Mm-hmm. And I think what degrades the trust in the crypto market, or the kind of makes us more cynical, is that you have so many of these projects that do that. They try and act like they're doing something that they don't actually do. I think that kind of hurts the market.
Yeah, and I think you'll see a shift away from that in the coming years. That's kind of, I think I think what's happening now, and maybe this could be a narrative in and of itself, is an altcoin renaissance, where you have the projects that do jack shit, that exist to scam people, But then you have other ones that are like, you know what, this is kind of boring. Let's actually build something useful. And
I think a lot of them are, like you said, like you just mentioned. I think there are things, at least they're trying to do. We don't know what's going to stick, right? Like Razor or whatever you just said the TV show is called. We don't know. That could potentially be the next big thing. And, that's kind of what's fun about the space is we're trying new things and we'll see what sticks. Right. I just don't like it when they act like they're doing something, but it actually does nothing. Right?
Yeah, vaporware, like Cardano, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna piss off all the Cardano people.
Yeah, you have to be real careful. Like they come after you.
Sorry, guys. Not a Cardano maxi here, but I love me some Charles Hoskinson.
Yeah, I feel like so I'm never going to be like hardcore fundamental guy, like, diving into the, I'm not like diving into the code of ADA, but from what I can gather from like people that seem to be like respectable in the space, it seems like they actually tried to, this is another problem with the crypto market, or at least something people don't realize. ADA tried, it seems like, to do it the right way, right? They like tried to go the academic route. They tried to like get peer review on all of their code. People don't realize, like, let's take I don't know, like pick a L1 from 2017 other than Ethereum.
Tezos was not, right?
Yeah, so like when you look at it, they're extremely slow, right? Compared to newer tech. And that's going to keep happening. That's going to happen each new market cycle. Something's going to come out that blows out of the water everything that just came out this cycle. And when you tie your boat to something that was, if you've been struggling since 2017 to gain users, to gain adoption, it's not going to get better. I'll tell you that much right now. Like if you're, especially in the L1 world, because like those things are going to look like, like our cell phones back in the 90s compared to a cell phone now in 4 more years, because the crypto market, I don't anticipate to go away. Right.
And I don't think the crypto market's going away. I think if anything, it's just going to get stronger.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully.
I'm optimistic, but
yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic. I think I think there's been a lot this cycle that has, quite frankly, this cycle has sucked in a lot of ways.
There have been parts of this cycle that have sucked. I've been frustrated that the top 5 performers in the past 90 days are almost entirely meme coins.
Right. And they're not even top performers in terms of percentage, which they are, but they're top performers like in terms of like market cap dollars added, which is
like Bonk went absolutely nuts at the end of 2023. Like Solana's OG meme coin, I was just like, oh my gosh, it's sad. It to see that stuff outperforming everything. Yeah,
it's it speaks to that like cynicism in the market, because I don't think I'm the only, I think it speaks to the cynicism, and it speaks to the fact that like, like I was mentioning, like these L1s come out, or these new coins come out, and if they're more serious VC backed projects, they come out with like, $2 billion market caps. And then so your retail guys, especially the smaller retail guys, are going to avoid those because they're going for the big hit. They're going for the Lambo.
But I think what may happen in the half 2 of this year, because here's the thing, when everybody thinks they know how to make money, the narrative changes.
Right.
So when everybody thinks that I'm going to be able to make all this money off Solana and make all this money off of meme coins, what if in half 2 the tech shines? And that's where we get the layer 2s taking off, and we get all the coins that everybody's been fading in half 1, and the smart money says, ooh, everybody's been fading this, let's go dump some money in there. I have a feeling that the altcoin season that I think is coming up relatively soon is going to rotate money out of the alts that have been running into ones that haven't been. I see a comment here. the facade is gone. Memes, only things left that aren't being front run by shitty VCs. Even airdrop farming gets saturated. Absolutely correct about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even, yeah, like he says, even airdrops are now like, there's institutional grade
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
farming of, I mean, the retail market.
MLMs, man.
Yeah.
Multi-layer marketing schemes.
Yeah. I mean, that's how you end up with a meme coin dominated market, because the retail guy kind of has to go to the last place that the VCs aren't going to touch.
Almost had a power outage here. Just warning you.
Yeah.
In case I just disappear randomly.
Well, actually, well, I mean, considering that, you know, your power is going to go out, or, you know, your state falls into the water, we could,
my state falls into the water. Yeah. With all the bad policy making, it could happen.
I thought you guys are supposed to fall into the water at some point when a big earthquake comes. Fall
into the water. I've been through some pretty big earthquakes. Yeah, that's funny though. You're over on the other side of the country, right?
Yeah, if a tornado hits my house, that's how I'll go down.
Oh my goodness. I hope you have a cellar. Yeah, but no, I mean,
we have basements.
No, I was just warning you in case I randomly disappear. I noticed, I was like, oh, that was interesting. Or maybe it's a sign that you're making the L2 gods mad.
Oh man. Well, we've been going for 2 hours now, and I think we've just about touched pretty much everything.
Yeah, I mean, does anybody? I mean, are there any?
Yeah, questions? Do you guys have any last questions, or
maybe we could field a few?
Well, there's a delay between when we say something and when.
So we can wait. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely down to do this again with you and Mark, hopefully.
It is. I don't know. Is ADA, its decentralization, not worth any? No, I'm. That's another thing. Like, no one cares about decentralization anymore. That is like a. And when I say no one, we're talking like the masses. Like, new people coming into the market aren't like, oh, you know, I need to get in on the decentralized finance. Like, no one cares.
Yeah, Solana was very centralized last cycle and nobody cared. This cycle, it's more decentralized than it used to be. I think they're running, and getting a Solana node is expensive. Yeah. I don't know how expensive it is now, but I tens of thousands of dollars of investment to run a Solana node. The last cycle, Solana outperformed like almost everything. Yeah. So yeah, I agree with you. Decentralization is something that is good for our market, but at the end of the day, your average retail investor is off buying dog and cat coins. So I don't think they care that much.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, I just think, yeah, it's easy to be cynical about the market, like when you have all the crap that kind of went on over the last year or two. So it was pumped by the cartel, was saying SPF. Oh yes, sorry, man. I realize you can't see these.
Oh yeah, I can't see any of it.
There's been a ton of comments, but it's like, you know, a lot of them are people like kind of talking to each other. And
oh yeah, does anybody have any questions for us?
Perseus wants to know. Chocolate Bear wants to know if we can give a quick recap. This should be posted pretty much right when. I think they automatically post. You have to go when you click on a channel, though. You have to like go to live streams or whatever. I don't know.
Altcoin picks. Yeah, there's only like 10,000 of them. Here's what I would say to that question: if you're going to pick an altcoin, have conviction that it's going to outperform Bitcoin and Ethereum at the very least. Otherwise, why are you holding it?
Yeah, and you're actually foolish for holding it if you do, because it's going to get. When a day like today happens, it's going to get wrecked compared to Bitcoin. You have to have way more upside on an altcoin compared to Bitcoin in order to invest in it. Otherwise, you have a net loss. Because let's say you've been holding Solana is a great example. If you've been, let's see, where are we at here? This is one thing on my site that I have to get fixed. Like, you pick a new color and it's like the same, it's like one shade different than the prior color. But if you've been holding Solana even back since like sometime in February, so a couple of months now you've been holding it, you would think in a bull market you're going to be pretty good, but you basically lost that all in the last 2 days. Back to your cost basis. Maybe you're a bit above now. I don't know where we're sitting at right now. We're at like 132. So Solana's down about close to 50%, right? Like 70%, like 40%.
I haven't really been keeping track of Solana. I can pull it up and look.
Yeah, I mean, it's like peak of this cycle was like 203 or close anyway, and it's down at 132 right now. So
yeah, Solana is down at its weighted logarithmic Bollinger Band median line at $130. Solana against Bitcoin is also down, and Solana hasn't even taken out its high against Bitcoin from the last cycle.
Yeah.
Not yet anyways, and there's no guarantee it does. I think something else I would say to that question about altcoin picks is focus, like what I try to, and again, not financial advice, is people get obsessed with price. Like, is Solana going to go to $1,000 or $800? And in my mind, it's like more about what's the potential return on investment.
Right.
That's what I look for. I look for ones where I can max out my ROI while minimizing my risk, or accept that I'm going to take a high risk, but at least there's a fairly good chance that my ROI potential is going to be quite high. Because if you're in buying Solana right now at $131, what's its maximum potential upside from here? Maybe 4x.
Yeah.
5x.
Yeah. For what's that, Solana, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's like that's why no one's buying Bitcoin at 70K, because
because what's the
your
ROI?
maximum is going to be like a 2x if you're like, if the stars align, which I don't think
if the stars align, yeah, maybe a 2x, and it's like, okay, well, if I want a 2x, I'll just go to the stock market and throw my money in the S&P. Right. Wait a little while. It's a safe 2x, So I'm sorry, like I don't feel comfortable giving specific altcoin recommendations. Like I do, if you want to, I guess what I'll say to your subscribers is go check out my channel. If you want to see altcoin recommendations, I've got lots of videos on ones that I enjoy. We'll just put it that way. Yeah, but to sit here and spout out specific altcoins, I think is dangerous, especially right now with the uncertainty in the market. I'm not out there buying altcoins today. I know some people are, and good for them. Maybe it'll work out, but I'm just kind of holding steady right now.
Yeah, and if you want my altcoin picks, go check out my channel. I think I made like a video 2 years ago or something like that, and I do mean I made one video 2 years ago.
Yeah, I've got quite a few altcoins on my channel. You can check them out.
This guy made more videos in like his first week of having a channel than I've made in the last 2 years.
You're funny, man. I love your approach to the market, though. I will say, like, you were calling for DCAing heavily at the bottom for Bitcoin. I mean, your approach is very methodical, very consistent, simple, and it's made you money.
That's why I have a hard time making videos, because it's like, guys, I already told you what I'm doing. Like, I'm using these metrics and I'm doing it here and here. And like, what do you want me to say? What the hell do you want from me? I told you what to do. If you're like a crypto video addict, that's not my problem. Like,
if you're a crypto video addict, there are many channels out there to keep
yeah,
you
it's
going.
like, I'm in the crypto market. Like, I've been in it for a while now, and I've had, I don't know. It's not like bragging. It's just like the fucking bottom line. Like, I've had success in the market, and I like to enjoy life. So I'm out there like doing things, and I don't need to make videos every day because, hey, I was dollar cost averaging, right? And I was doing it in a dynamic fashion. Well, that's it. I don't really have much else to tell you. And
yeah, sometimes like, the most boring strategies are the most effective. And your success speaks for itself. And I think your guys' UDPI model, along with the TCI, MBI, and forecast model, it just gives you some very clear, clean data that anyone can look at and understand and tell what the risk is, and But
Yeah.
and everybody has a different risk tolerance. Like I have a
Right.
very high risk tolerance, and I enjoy looking at new altcoins and new projects. It's
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
my
No.
thing.
And different approaches, like in a given market cycle, especially this one, right? Like even if you were using like a dynamic DCA from 2022, basically, into 2023 until things started picking up, Bitcoin only did like I think my return is like, I don't know, when it was at 70K, I think it was like just north of 200% or something like that. And
Yeah,
yeah, that's like, let's get realistic. That's amazing. But a lot of people are hoping for more than that. Right. And, that's just on my Bitcoin investment. I'm also like, I do like a tiered thing, like Bitcoin's the primary, then Ethereum, then Solana happened to be my third. And, I think I've made more, even though Solana is like a fraction of what I invested into Ethereum, the returns from Solana were actually, approaching that of Ethereum, even though and I'm talking about in dollars that, is approaching it, even though my investment in it was like, like a quarter of what I invested into Ethereum. So that's kind of the appeal of some of the other approaches. You have that potential to do way more than like 200% or whatever it may be. But depending on where you're at, I don't need to chase like the high volatility type stuff. But
yeah,
I completely understand the appeal of doing something like that, because your potential is way higher than kind of focusing on Bitcoin.
yeah.
That's,
I agree with everything you're saying. I think there's a video series on my channel called Risk Management, and I've got 4 videos, got a 5th one coming. And I think one of the main things that I try to tell people is, you're going to hear different things from different people on YouTube, but ultimately you have to be aware of what your risk management profile is. And if you want to take high risk, you better be prepared to take high losses,
yeah,
because 99% of the stuff out there is complete and utter garbage, scam, crap. And very few altcoins will outperform Bitcoin and Ethereum on a long enough time frame. So if you're looking to get into the altcoin market, I don't consider Ethereum an altcoin, but if Bitcoin dominance is getting toppy, getting a position in Ethereum, like, if you didn't get one at the bottom at $700 or whatever, it might not be the worst time to convert Satoshis over to ETH when you feel that Bitcoin dominance is looking really toppy. Ethereum
right.
will outperform a lot of altcoins. It just will.
Yeah. And I mean,
Oh,
this,
you got to put the meme.
well, what I've done here is I've actually just sorted these by like 7 to 8% change.
Yeah.
And I mean, so these are only coins in the top 250, by the way. And I mean, you can see just a lot of this stuff. This is
Oh,
like,
you got DGen on there too.
yeah, it's kind of funny how
Yeah, the
like
base play. Yeah.
something like well, I guess Uniswap is getting hit because of the SEC.
Yeah, they had that order filed against them.
Yeah.
SEC,
So,
stupid games.
but you can see now, if we flip this around the other way, let's do 7% change toward 500 up 500%. Like a lot of when you do it like this, you're naturally going to get a lot of like stable coins and random meme coins that have done well. But when you kind of come down to the big boys to see like, kind of who's staying stable, and they're going to be the things with larger market caps. So you're going to be less downside, less upside is what it comes down to. And I guess, realistically, the risk of investing in these meme coins is this: like, you could have all of your profits wiped out in just like a day or
just
two.
gone. Yep.
Out of nowhere.
Exactly.
Yep.
And Bitcoin is not going to do that to you. It's not likely to do that to you. Like,
Or it can still, but it will be to a much lesser degree.
Bitcoin drops 20%, altcoins drop 70%. It's
Yep.
like something like that. Or Bitcoin drops 40%, altcoins drop 90%.
Yep.
If you can't handle that volatility, stay out of the altcoin market because it
Yeah.
will give
I
you
mean, yeah, I mean, even like, that's another thing people think of, like, oh, it's down 75%. Well, okay, my meme coin was only down 84%. Well, the difference between 75%
It's huge.
and 84% is massive. It's like
Yeah.
you have to do like multiples extra just to get back to your cost basis. You know, with the small percent differences. I mean, if you just do the math out, you'll see I'm not going to do it on you know, on a live stream, but you know, a small percentage difference in downside volatility is actually huge in terms of what you need to get back to where you were. Yeah, I mean, just like everything's wrecked, and you know, the farther down the list you go, like even once you get down to like 25 and below, like all of these are and the only things that aren't are going to be stable coins.
Yeah.
So it's like everything.
That's just Bitcoin dominance eating altcoins alive right there.
Yep. And, you know, we'll see what happens on Monday when the stock market people are able to
to react.
yeah, like are they going to I think that'll be interesting because this is going to be their first time holding a extreme risk asset, and a negative world event is happening at the same time, right? Like potentially, you know, Iran is you know, launching missiles against Israel or whatever's happening. I don't know. That's another thing. Like I'm so sick of the world and world events. People are like, oh, don't you want to be informed? What? That someone hates someone? Okay, fine. That's, you know, that's pretty much. What's that?
I was going to say geopolitical conflict can be
persistent.
It can be, and you know, when the media spreads it around too, it can be a very significant market disruptor for a period of time. And this is why, you know, people ask me if I was selling today. I said, no, I'm not selling.
Yeah. They tend to be good times to get in, actually.
Yeah, exactly. I'll sell if I feel like we are heading into a recession. If I feel like that's happening, I'm out. Goodbye. I'm going to something more stable than crypto at that point.
Right.
But if I feel like it's a shakeout where we're heading into a seasonal correction or something, I'll just weather it out. I mean, I weathered out the 2022 bear market. I can weather out a couple red months. It's not a big deal, to me at least. So yeah, I mean, can I share something real quick too to kind of address this question, that loaded question about which altcoins do you pick, and then we give them like a complete like roundabout answer without actually answering the question.
Yeah.
That's what crypto YouTubers are good at doing. Can you guys, you can see my screen, right? So this is others dominance, which is the total dominance of the altcoin market minus the top 10. And I don't know where TradingView cuts things off either, but you know, it could be the top 250, top 500. I have no idea, but you can see
125.
Okay, 125. I thought they added more.
Wait, are you talking of total or total 3 or what?
Whatever's included in others for others dominance.
Oh, others.
Yeah, this is others dominance.
I've never even heard of that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I had like a billion charts open. So, but I wanted to show this to people to give you some hope about altcoins, because you can see, again, this is on a weekly time frame. This is basically the total dominance of the altcoin market minus the top 10. So again, I don't know I think it's the top 250 minus the top 10, but it could be even more than that for all I know. I don't
know. Total 2 and 3 are all 125.
So it could be the top 120, maybe the top one, or the not the top 125, but maybe the top 125 minus the top 10. I'd have to look that up, but in any case, you could think of this as like altcoin dominance, and excluding, of course, total 3. And I do have a chart pulled up for total 3 also, which I wanted to flip to really quickly after this. But you can see how altcoin dominance has been steadily creeping in, and it's formed this triangle pattern that I think it's going to break out to the upside of eventually. Will it happen this cycle? I don't know. But the Gaussian channel was red for a very long time, from August of 2022 all the way till January of 2024, and it's turned green. And it's not unusual at all when the Gaussian turns green to try to come back and test bullishness. And that happened right here when Bitcoin went on a tear and dominance went up, altcoin dominance went down. it happened here too, right after it turned green. So we're seeing it potentially happening again. You see this wick to the downside. This is on the weekly, but if you zoom in, we actually held, at least so far, this is no guarantee we do hold this. I think there's odds are we probably don't, especially when you see it's like double top shape. But we could come crashing down and maybe tap this trend line, which is held for a very long time, and then bounce. So we could get a couple weeks of weakness, maybe a month of weakness, and then boom, off to the races. We go into altcoin season. That's generally what's happened, and that would give Bitcoin dominance a chance to top out. One other chart that I want to quickly show is total 3 minus stable coins divided by Bitcoin, which, and maybe this will be like the last chart I show, since we are running at like 2 hours and 15 minutes. Typical length of one of my videos. Just kidding. I don't go that long. So this is total 3 minus stable coins divided by Bitcoin. So this also gives you kind of a measurement of altcoin dominance, but it does include the top 10. And so I have this horizontal support that's held so far since it held in June of 2023. It held in October of 2023. It held in February 2024, and it held today. We wicked below it, but we came back up. Of course, this is on the weekly, so there's a chance we penetrate this, and yeah, that could be ugly. The Gaussian channel is concave up right now and widening, which is a bullish sign. We did march right into it, which is also kind of bullish, but it's possible that we have some weakness here for a little while. I don't know, but apparently this has not found a bottom yet, because if it did, then we wouldn't have just put in a new one today. So I guess the long and the short for people wondering about altcoins is I don't think we're in altcoin season right now. I think if anything, we're heading towards Bitcoin season, if we're not already there yet. I think the altcoin season index was like at 27 this morning, and it's like at 33 now out of 100, where altcoin season's at 90 or above. Bitcoin season is 25 or below. So, you know, I think the altcoin market is likely to see some weakness through April and May, but at some point, I do think we will still get a very strong altcoin season against Bitcoin. This is, so far, we've just gone sideways against Bitcoin, but you can see these moves, when they happen quickly. Like they happen like they're fierce. These are some fierce moves. Of course, we have diminishing volatility, whoops, I just moved my trend line down. Diminishing volatility. So we're not likely to see dramatic moves, but we could see a move to the top of the trend line. And if we break it, great. Break it and back test it. I'd love to see that. I have no idea what's going to happen with regard to that. So I think that there are still opportunities in the altcoin market, but you have to be patient. And I personally would probably wait for Bitcoin dominance to kind of tell us the story of what's likely to happen.
I think you cut out.
Oh, I did?
Yeah. Or did you just say what's going to happen? And that was the last thing you said.
Yeah, I'm known to just have just stop talking awkwardly. My wife sometimes is like, "Are you done talking?" I'm like, "Yeah."
All right,
Sorry
fair enough.
that.
No, it's all good. Well, your camera freezes a little bit, so you stop talking, and then it.
Oh yeah, sorry about that too. I'm
No,
low tech.
it's all good.
Yeah, I'm low tech over here.
Yeah. Well, the last thing I'll ask you, and I know this, there's keep dragging this out. Do you think what you said can actually happen if there aren't new people coming into the market? Because all signs point to the fact that, from my perspective, all signs point to the fact that there isn't like this big flow of casuals or, new people coming in, and the people that are here, kind of know the game at this point and are more jaded. So I feel like there's more in and out than there was last, because last cycle, how many times did you hear diamond hands? I'm never selling.
Oh, of course.
And
Yeah.
this cycle,
your point is valid, like about interest rates and the credit squeeze. And that absolutely, we're not in 2021, right? We don't have $6 trillion of liquidity being injected into the market. We don't have GameStop, and AMC taking off and, people making money on Reddit. I mean, that's not happening this time around. And it is possible that we have a relatively muted altcoin season, or that we don't have one at all. I would say that if new retail does not come into the space, then yes, we're screwed. I don't think altcoins are going to do much of anything that exciting. I still think we'll get an altcoin season. I just don't think it'll be that exciting. But my base case, when I look at the new wallet, that wallet metric, it looks like an accumulation range to me. I just can't help but see it that way. I think the second half of the year, if we have Bitcoin's halving next week, let's see how things shake out with that. I mean, things have really shaken out this weekend.
Wait, so I'm sorry. You were saying for Polygon, you see that as an accumulation range?
No, not Polygon. I don't think it was Polygon. It was Bitcoin. But with Polygon, it looks like it's flagging to me. Maybe it's just confirmation bias because
sorry, I may have missed what you were saying there. Are you talking about active addresses or the
price?
price?
Active addresses? Yes.
Oh, okay. Well,
I think it was you showed them for Bitcoin. You also showed them for Polygon, and mainly it's been a sideways chop for Bitcoin. But for Polygon being an altcoin, it's been kind of diminished over time, and so
right.
I suspect, and you and I will have to see how this ages, that in half two of this year, that we are going to see the stuff that is kind of dead right now pick up and have some life to it. So I do think retail will find a reason to get into the space as long as we don't enter into a recession. I don't think that altcoins have the same upside potential that they've had in past cycles. Part of that's just due to diminishing returns. And part of that is due to low liquidity in the system. It's hard to want to justify buying a cat coin when you're paying, an 8% mortgage rate on your house.
Right.
So I do have some concerns about how explosive our altcoin seasons may be, but I guess I still believe that we're going to have one. And I do still think the Ethereum ecosystem will go on to put in some new highs. I think Ethereum will take out its all-time high, and I think a lot of this may happen in half two. And if I'm wrong, then Jay, you can totally haze me for it if we do one of these streams.
I don't have a strong opinion. I just don't, I kind of don't. I'm not as good at predicting things, I would say. I think my strong suit is in kind of reacting to the events on the ground.
Yeah.
So, there's certain prediction, everything you're saying, you're providing reasons. I think none of it's it's not outlandish. And a lot of times in the crypto market, especially in the YouTube, the creator space, that's another thing that, just to kind of give some insight to, when you're on the other side of the camera, you start to realize things real quick. And a lot of content out there is not for your benefit. It's for you to click on. Right. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people are making content that isn't trying to help you. People are saying things they don't believe to drive traffic. And if you're not doing that, there's very few people that aren't. Like, I don't think as much as I don't necessarily like the guy that much. Ben Cohen is like, I don't think he's out there like trying to get clickbait, at least not maliciously. Yeah, everyone's trying to put clickbait out, right? Like, we're all trying to get you to click to watch the video. But then once you're into the video, it's like, now are you watching someone that's just saying something just to say it to make you hit subscribe? Or are they saying it because they actually mean it? And, do they have the talent to actually perform that analysis? So what I'm getting at is, I think, what you're saying there, it seems like, you're providing reason and logic behind it. And that's the kind of thing where I can kind of get behind that and say, yeah, that makes sense, versus, like a lot of other channels out there that just say things, they don't have to mean anything, or they're like quite actually the opposite of what is likely to happen, but they're what people want to hear. And confirmation bias, like you just said, is, the name of the game half the time in this space. So.
Yeah. And I think we all do it. I mean, I'm guilty of it. I have an idea in my head of what I think is going to happen, and then I will look at fractals on a screen and think that I can, this pattern might repeat, but there's no guarantee that it does, and I think that's why you hedge. Like, I tell my followers, hedge against your hedges and hedge against those too. The more hedged you are, you do diminish your upside potential, but you also reduce your downside risk. So, and if you are not going to hedge, which I respect anybody's thoughtful plan. Be prepared to either retire next year with, you know, the biggest amount of money you've ever had, or to have to work another 10 years to make up for the money that you lost. So, I mean,
especially the farther down the risk curve you go, you know, if
farther
you're
down the risk curve you go, you got to hedge, you know. So
yeah, because like with Bitcoin,
yeah.
if you mess up Bitcoin, you know, you can't say this forever because we don't know. Like we've already seen, like suppose 70K was the top. Well, you know, there's a very clear trend of diminishing returns over time. But with Bitcoin, you can at least expect that it's very likely it's going to get back to your cost basis at some point. But when you go down that risk curve, if you start getting into the, you know, even the quote unquote up and coming L1s, well, back in 2017, there's a lot of quote unquote L1s that if you bought at the top, you're absolutely wrecked today because they never got back. So,
oh yeah, absolutely. And then most coins won't even, most older altcoins won't outperform Bitcoin, or if they do, they'll just get back to where they were against Bitcoin the last cycle. Like,
oh yeah, and they won't outperform it from you know, in terms of thinking of it in terms of tops. There's no way, because you know, some of them will get back to their all-time high, but the farther out we get with altcoins, very likely the less valuable that altcoin becomes because of technology creep, right? Like
absolutely. And not only that, but they have resistance levels, right?
Right.
Newer altcoins don't have resistance levels. Older altcoins have all these bag holders from previous cycles that want to offload and just say, screw this shit. That's what causes them not to be able to go to new highs sometimes, is the bag holders from the previous cycle are just fed up. They want out. And they're like, oh, we're finally back at my cost basis. I'm going to dump all this on you guys.
Yeah, exactly. Well, with those happy words.
Yeah. With those happy words. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a great place to cut it off. So, all right, guys, if you haven't checked out his channel yet, I highly suggest you do. The links are down in the description below, I believe. You know, like I said, this is a professional run operation. So, yep, they're down there. So check them out. You know, he puts out a ton of videos, and I think that he puts out videos on a lot of topics that you guys are interested in. So, you know, much opposed to me, because when you're really wanting that altcoin video, you're probably going to get a boring Bitcoin video from me. So
Bitcoin video.
So, you know, that's going to be it for this one, guys. So until next time, as usual, see you.
Okay, take care. Thanks again for having me.